going into WrestleMania 4, I got a call from Vince McMahon telling me that he goes, "We have more fan letters or fan mail for you than any other wrestler in the company, and you're a bad guy." And he goes, "So we're going to change it. We're going to turn you. You're going to get a big push. We're going to make you a big star as a baby face, and we're going to give you a big push like you've never seen. You're going to be wrestling with all the main event guys, and you're going to be a top guy, and no more tags." And they split me and Jim up from that was right before I did that Bad News Allen Battle Royal thing in Atlantic City for WrestleMania 4. And of course, that big push never really happened. They didn't give me any kind of big push, and then they threw me back in tags with Jim. Somewhere in a period of time, like after WrestleMania 4, probably going 2 or 3 months after that, they decided that I was not a major league star and that I should stick me back in tag, and that I wasn't. I think they felt that I had no charisma and not enough mic promo skills, which I think was wrong, but. Anyway, so they passed on my big push, and then for years they always talked about giving me this big push. They were going to put me in singles and give me this big push, and it never ever happened. And it got to be like it was like a standing joke where every time they promised me this big push. And the important thing you got to know is that in a single match you make a lot more money than you do in tags. In tags they divide your pay in half and split it and you get half pay kind of thing. But you can get main event pay, but it's half of what you would have got if you were by yourself. And so I was actually looking forward to going into singles and proving myself. And I was, by that time, I felt that I was as good a wrestler as anybody in the company, really. And but my job was always to get somebody else over. I remember when Kurt came in, Mr. Perfect came in. It was my job to get him over so he could wrestle Hulk Hogan. I remember Bad News Allen when he jumped me and beat me in the Battle Royal or whatever, and I smashed up the trophy. He beat me every night for the next 3-4 months, and like every single night pinned me, and it was like so much for the big push, you know. And I remember thinking everything's about confidence. Like I had no confidence I remember they said like, your promos are not, they're not good enough kind of thing, and I'm like, well, what do you want me to say? You know, like I don't know what I'm supposed to talk about if I can't seem to win a match ever. You know, so I never really had any confidence. And so when they finally did split me up and put me in singles was after the demolition match the Nasty Boy match at WrestleMania was our last match together. And I was ready to go into singles, and that's where it all started. And I had wrestled Kurt for maybe a year and a half or 2 years at that not all the time, but just about every night. Me and Kurt wrestled for like all around the country in different cities. So when they were going to give me my big push, they actually. I remember it was the day after the Nasty Boys won the titles and we showed up, and I'm like, well, I'm very suspicious that they're not going to give me this big push they've been talking about. And this time they're like, no, it's for sure this time. It's going to be unbelievable and all that stuff. And it was the very next day, and I remember they came in and they said, we're going to put you with Curt Hennig. And I said, well, what am I going to do with Curt Hennig? And they said, you guys are going to have great matches, and we're going to book you all for the next 5 months together. I said, well, Kurt just won the Intercontinental title last night. So is he going to lose it to me or in his first match? And they go, well, probably not. I said, so you're going to beat me again the first time I step in the ring in a single match. I lose again. And so I refused. I said, I'm not doing it. I don't want to wrestle Kurt. I said, I'm going to go home. And I kind of held them up that day. I remember Pat Patterson running around pleading with me how great it was going to be for me and Kurt. I said, I know we'll have great matches, but I don't want to be the first guy. You know, and you guys promised me a push. I said, when you say you're going to give me a big push, I'd like to maybe win my first match and not keep losing them all the time. And so I had a good argument, and I remember they changed it and let Davey wrestle Mr. Perfect, which was perfect for me because Davey had just come back, and I knew. I said, it's not whoever works with Kurt first is not going to get the belt, but whoever works on second, like they'll keep the belt on him probably till SummerSlam, and then they'll be looking for a new champion, looking for some new guy to work with them. And it could have been anybody, but I thought it should be me. And that's why I held out that day. And it's funny because it ended up like probably about middle of June or something. They came up and told us that it was SummerSlam with me and Kurt. And I remember they didn't tell me it because they never really tell you that you're winning the title yet. But I remember thinking it's a good chance they might let me win the belt that day. So I didn't say anything. And then Kurt, of course, had the bad back. And then it was questionable whether he would even be able to make SummerSlam because he really did hurt his back. And I just remember Kurt called me on the phone and told me, he goes, I heard it's me and you at SummerSlam. And I was like, that'd be great. And I hope you can make it. And I was talking about his back. And he goes, whatever happens, I will be there to drop the belt to you if I can. I will make it to that match. And that's why I always love about that SummerSlam match. It wasn't really the best match I ever had with Mr. Perfect because we had so many great matches all around wrestling in America and Canada, and I don't think we wrestled in Europe, but we had such lovable matches. I just loved every bit of it. He was so much fun to work with. Kurt had a lot of he had a good sense of humor and was always making you laugh in the ring. But you'd never know. I can remember sometimes. We had this spot that we did the first time we wrestled each other where he was duck the elbow, flying crossbody, which is like a flying tackle or whatever. And so when he threw him, the way we did it is I think we both ended up hitting the ropes at the same time and ducked and we're coming off the ropes. And I remember Kurt was running at me full steam. So I thought, well, I'll jump, and then by the time he gets to me, it'll be perfect timing. But so I jumped, and Kurt kind of stopped halfway across the ring. He didn't stop. He kind of stopped, and I did this pathetic fly across on Kurt where I hit him around the shins, and then we kind of rolled up. I remember he was laughing, and I was laughing, and then he kicked out. And if I remember the spots back then, I would go onto the bottom rope, and then I'd get up off the floor, and I'd give him a tackle through the ropes and a sunset flip over the top, and then he would kick out, and then I would do a headlock takeover, and then I think we did a bunch of other moves out of that. But it was a big long sequence of moves that came all in a row. But I would usually laugh so hard from it. And the funny thing about it is that we did it like that one night as it was just an accident. He didn't know. He kept running. But we did the exact same spot every night for every year for the whole year that we worked. We always did the same move, and every night we would be laughing our heads off in the ring, but nobody ever noticed. But that's how Kurt was. He was always. If I had to pick one guy that I could wrestle again, it's pretty close between either Owen or Mr. Perfect for the same reasons. There was always a lot of humor going on that nobody was ever aware of. That you have to bite your cheek when you're doing your match. You're supposed to be in full-blown comeback mode and beating on somebody, and you're laughing your head off all the way through it because of something that Kurt did or something he said in the ring. And Owen was the same, but that's what I loved about working with Kurt.
Because they say that Mr. Perfect's a big prankster, but they also say that Owen Hart is as well. Did they ever try and prank each other?
The really good pranksters never pranked each other because it was like too much of a war. Kurt was pretty relentless. Like you didn't want to have Kurt ribbing you, and at the same time you didn't want to have Owen rib. Owen, like there was, I'll tell you a funny story about Owen where when we wrestled, when I wrestled Doink the Clown at the SummerSlam. But they thought it was so funny. Pat Patterson and Vince had come up with this prank they were going to pull on my brother Bruce. So they had the Doink come out with that pail of confetti, and he's throwing it around and all that. But anyway, the pail was full of water. And so he pretended to throw the confetti. He threw the confetti on Owen and everything. But anyway, we kind of found out what was going to happen, that he was going to throw the bucket of water on my brother Bruce, who had no idea about the bucket of water. That was the prank. And I just remember Owen went up to Matt Bourne, who was Doink, and told him, he goes, if you get one drop of water on me, even just one drop, he goes, I will rib you for the rest of your life. And if you watch that match, he doesn't get one drop on Owen. And my brother Bruce, when you watch my brother Bruce making that comeback, it's because he completely lost it. He got so mad when they threw that pail of water on him. He almost got hired. But,